What is going on, everyone? Nuclear Ninjas here, and you knew this was coming. Everyone's been talking about Chandelure in Ultra League Premier Classic recently, and my profile pick is a Chandelure, so this pretty much had to happen. I also finished best buddying my Hundo score uppy, so I decided I might as well just toss both of them on the same team and kind of see what happens. And then I rounded the team out with a Shadow Swampert lead. The Swampert has Mudshot, Hydro Cannon, and Earthquake. Drapion has Poison Sting, Crunch, and Sludge Bomb, and Chandelure is running with Incinerate, Flame Charge, and Shadow Ball. For those of you new to the Candle game, the strategy with pretty much any Chandelure team is to save both shields for Chandelure and try to keep Chandelure away from hard counters. With all that said, let's get into the battles. Jumping into my first battle, I pick up a match against Sir Spencer, and I am obviously leading Swampert into Togekiss. So Shadow Swampert actually has a positive matchup against Togekiss because the Hydro Cannons do enough for this to be a 2-hit KO. So I'm obviously just going to stay in here. Most likely how I would expect my opponent to play it is they're going to shield once. But this opponent actually catches me off guard and swaps out to Snorlax, which is something I did not really see coming. So I'm going to throw the Hydro Cannon here. And Hydro Cannon is actually a 2-hit KO against the Snorlax too, but he throws the move right before I get to the next Hydro Cannon, and I decide to let it go down. Both my backline have a decent matchup against Togekiss, so I'm not overly worried about swapping out of that in order to save a counter for Togekiss in the back. I am over farming a bunch here with Drapion, and then throwing a Crunch that I hope will KO. So Crunch comes through, that does KO the Snorlax. The reason I say I hope it KOs is I don't really know how all of the matchups for my Hundo Drapion yet at this point. And the opponent brings out an Obstagoon, which is very good for me, not because Drapion necessarily wants to fight Obstagoon, but because Obstagoon would be a problem if I were to let it go up against Chandelure. But I got off the Sludge Bomb, the opponent throws right away, and I actually bank the Crunch on Drapion and swap into Chandelure. Now, at this point, I kind of have to shield here because Obstagoon is obviously very dangerous for my team. And I tried to force a CMP tie there, but the opponent actually was smart and did not throw right away. They overfarmed a bit. And now the Togekiss comes out, and that is actually kind of a gift from my opponent because he had me in a tough position. Although, remember, I did still have the Crunch banked on the Drapion. But at this point, we can just farm up to 2 Flame Charges. Flame Charge takes out the Togekiss. Flame Charge takes out the Obstagoon. Shields are down. There's not really anything they can do at this point. Chandelure wins CMP. So, fairly close one, but managed to make things work out in the end. I think if they'd stayed in with Obstagoon, they might have had a better chance there. But in any case, let's get into the next battle. Picking up a matchup right away against Rick Flareon. And this is another player who is already legend. We get Obstagoon into Shadow Swampert. So what I'm going to do here, obviously this is a neutral matchup. I'm just going to have Swampert throw 2 Hydro Cannons and probably draw a shield. That's Night Slash number 1 coming through. The opponent gets the boost. That is dangerous. Obstagoon, obviously, when it gets the boost, is no fun to go up against. At this point, I'm expecting my opponent to pretty much definitely shield this because the Obstagoon's already boosted, so why would they not shield? And there's the shield I was expecting. They will have to throw here if they don't want to deal with another Hydro Cannon. I actually decide to shield because I'm at the next Hydro Cannon, and the opponent gets another boost on their Obstagoon. And I'm just like, oh, come on, what is this nonsense? But they let it go down, so Shadow Swampert double boosted Obstagoon, and it still takes the win. Now the opponent brings out a Machamp and gets 1 counter worth of farm. I was trying to catch a Cross Chop or something there. Basically, I just wanted to get out of there and have Drapion eat the energy because Chandelure only has 1 shield. And the Machamp actually lets me get to the Sludge Bomb here. I think they probably had another Cross Chop loaded already. But at this point, if they try to just... Okay, the opponent brings out a Venusaur. Venusaur is not a good answer to Drapion or Chandelure, so they were kind of just screwed. They didn't have the alignment to get Venusaur on my Swampert. And I throw another Crunch on the Venusaur, and at this point I think I should probably make a move back into Chandelure. Yep, there we go. I sneak in the Incinerate as they throw, which means that Venusaur is about to go down, even if it does have 2 Frenzy Plants loaded. And we have a move loaded to just Shadow Ball this Machamp into Oblivion. So, GG, well played to my opponent. Let's get into battle number 3. My third matchup is against Yossi Dragonekes. I don't really know what that name is about. And we pick up a Toxicroak lead, and the opponent swaps into Walrus. Now, I don't actually have a good Walrus response on this team, so I kind of just build up some energy on Swampert there. Arguably, I should have stayed in, but I don't want my backline to see Toxicroak either. And we go into Drapion, and I'm just going to try to get some damage off, and then I can come back in with Swampert and apply some major shield pressure with the threatening Earthquakes. Or I might come in with Chandelure, depending. I don't actually remember how I played this one. So, waiting out the switch timer there, because my switch clock is not up, and okay, I do come in with the Chandelure, and he can... Okay, I'm going all the way for the farm down. I can shield this. Even if this is a bait, they're not getting to the Earthquake, so it's just going to be an Icicle Spear, and I actually go for the aggressive swap into Swampert, and now they're going to have to shield if they want to get that next Icicle Spear off. And the opponent has a Trevenant in the back, so may have been a mistake to lock the Swampert in. Probably should have just gone for the farm down, but sometimes you make that type of call and just get burned. Obviously, if I'd known there was a Trevenant in the back, I would have tanked an Icicle Spear and gone for the farm down with Swampert, or with Chandelure on the Walrein. But anyway, the opponent's going to shield there. I'm over farming a bit here. The opponent brings out their Toxicroak, which is going to eat a Flame Charge here. I believe shields are down. Yes, they are. So now I can just shield once and farm all the way down and end the Trevenant with a Shadow Ball, because as a general rule, Chandelure wins CMP against... I mean, I'm sure there's something in the meta that beats Chandelure in the CMP tie, but it is not common. Goodbye, Trevenant. And after a somewhat annoying lobby, I pick up a match against Wasabi Numbers, and we're picking up another Obstagoon lead. We saw this before, the last one double boosted and still lost the one shield to Swampert. I'm going to go ahead and... I mean, if they don't get the boost, I probably wouldn't play out the shield situation. I'd just force a shield with Hydro Cannon, and then give shield advantage to my Chandelure at the end of the game. The fact I'm seeing the Obstagoon now means they hopefully won't have another counter in the back. The opponent actually swaps into Crobat there to catch the Hydro Cannon, which I'm fine with because Crobat doesn't want to eat a Hydro Cannon either. And I'm farming up a bit there, and then decide to just bank the move and go into Drapion, because I know the Air Slashes are going to deal more damage to Drapion than the charge moves really threaten me. So I figured let him build up some energy, and then I can just tank all of the energy on my Drapion. So next move comes through. This is another Poison Fang. Again, just doesn't do much. Drapion would also resist the Shadow Ball, which is typically Crobat's other move. And I'm going to go for the Crunch here just to apply a ton of shield pressure or take the Crobat out. The opponent actually goes down they go down 2 shields, which kind of surprised me. Now Swampert can come in and just snipe this Obstagoon with a Hydro Cannon to end its entire existence. And depending on what the opponent brings in, I'll probably be able to get to a Hydro Cannon before I go down. Now, it is an Alolan Muck in the back, which normally would not be great for Chandelure, but in the 2-0 shield, I can pretty comfortably just go ahead, shield this, keep farming. The Poison Jabs are resisted. It's only the Dark Pulse I have to watch out for. I don't even care that that's an Acid Spray. He's not taking me down with fast moves because all he has is this thing, and then he also has a counter user. Now, right there you saw I snuck an Incinerate in. I've got back-to-back Flame Charges loaded. The opponent swaps to Crobat to try and snipe me, I guess, but I was already throwing the Flame Charge, and I don't even bother throwing a move at the Amok. I just throw another Incinerate because I knew it was Energy Dry. And that is 4 wins in a row, and these were my first 4 battles in Ultra Premier Classic, so... Honestly, I can't even claim credit like I did some huge meta-analysis with this. The team just kind of worked out on day 1. I got a little bit lucky with team comp. Jumping into battle number 5, going up against all Snorlax. If this guy does not have a Snorlax on his team, I'll be very disappointed. And I pick up an extremely negative lead. Nothing on my team. I mean, Drapion's the only one that has a good matchup against Trevenant. Even Chandelure, it deals super effective damage back, but the Shadow Claws just add up so fast that Trevenant is a serious threat. I'm going for the crunches on this Walrus and hoping to maybe get a debuff or something. I actually forced the shield there and get a debuff. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I need shield advantage to have any chance against that Trevenant, so go ahead, Earthquake me. The opponent doesn't Earthquake me and has to throw 2 Icicle Spears, which is 5 extra energy expended, although calling that bait still didn't get me to a move. And I am now going to come with Chandelure and just hard farm down. I was kind of thinking at the time that this wasn't enough energy for an Earthquake, and I was correct. So now the opponent's going to throw, and now at this point, unfortunately, I kind of have to shield the Icicle Spear, even though I know it's an Icicle Spear, because I'm just getting a little low on health with the Chandelure. And at this point, if the opponent brings out Trevenant, I'm going to be able to get to back-to-back flame charges, but they actually catch me off guard and come in with Swampert, which was a good play, makes total sense, but did not work out for me. I failed to catch a Hydro Cannon there, which, if my opponent's smart, they weren't going to let me catch a Hydro Cannon, so well played to my opponent. And now I'm kind of just doomed here, because that Swampert has a move loaded. I'm playing it out, but this is already over, because the Swampert is just going to Hydro Cannon my Chandelure. This thing gets to a move before I can do anything. The opponent still has a shield left, and there's the top left. So, well played to my opponent. Unfortunate for me that they actually had another really good Chandelure answer in the back there to deal with me at the end game there in that point, because normally Chandelure with that much loaded energy is very dangerous. Kind of wishing I'd waited a half second to see what they were coming in with and thrown the Shadow Ball. That might have given me a chance. Anyway. Moving into my next set, I pick up a match against Naten and Swampert into Heracross. Now, this is pretty dangerous because Heracross can actually threaten Chandelure with Rock Blast, which means Swampert is probably my best Heracross answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for my normal Hydro Cannons here. Heracross actually forces the CMP tie. I let it go. Please bait me with Rock Blast. He is not baiting me with Rock Blast. The opponent goes straight for the close combat and then aggressive swaps the Snorlax totally blind into the Chandelure. He didn't... I mean, it seemed to me based on how fast he swapped, he didn't know I was coming in with Chandelure. So it just worked out for him that was a good match. But I guess maybe he was weak to Chandelure in the back because they see the Drapion versus Snorlax matchup and top left. So, hey, I mean, a win is a win, I guess. GG, sorta. Jumping into my second battle, we're going up against Alex Potato Baker. And we've got Swampert into Typhlosion. Very positive lead. Obviously, Swampert is going to dominate Typhlosion. The opponent swaps for Walrein. And I have already lost control of this match because I don't have a good Walrein answer. So, Icicle Spear is going to come through. My goal here is I just want to deal as much damage as possible with Drapion. I'm kind of surprised the opponent didn't even build up to the Earthquake there. You definitely want to build up to the Earthquake so you can threaten it in this situation. But I'm not going to complain because I can live 2 Icicle Spears from the non-Shadow Walrein. And then I try to force CMP tie there, but unfortunately the opponent sees it coming and kind of whatever. And I definitely should have gone for the crunch there. I could have made it to 2 crunches, but instead, and based on how fast they threw, I'm like, that is a blind Icicle Spear. There's no way they went for the Earthquake totally blind like that. So I actually call it. This time I'm going to shield. It's another Icicle Spear. And then the Typhlosion comes back in. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to bring in Swampert. I can casually tank a Blast Burn. That's not a big deal. So Blast Burn does not much. I'm going to overfarm a bit here and throw the Hydro Cannon. Shields are down, so bye-bye Typhlosion. And then a Trevenant comes out, and this is kind of sketchy because I don't really have a super strong Trevenant response. and this thing is massively over farming. Now the good news is my switch timer is coming up here. Come on, the opponent swaps to Wall Rain and eats a Hydro Cannon instead of committing to the farm down with Trev. Interesting. So I'm just going to go to Chandelure right here. I'm pretty sure this is just an Icicle Spear and I'd survive it anyway, but at this point I recognize that my win con with shields down is just to build up to 2 flame charges. Flame charge the Wall Rain, flame charge the stupid tree, and that is going to be GG. So a little bit of a weird battle there, a lot of questionable swaps going on both sides, but I mean, I'll take the win. Hopping into my third battle, picking up a match against Jorn IV, and we have Swampert into Machamp. So this is, I mean, technically in the 0 shield, Swampert might do okay here, but Shadow Machamp always shields, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the shield advantage my opponent will undoubtedly give me. I'm going to let this go, and then I'm going to get to a second Hydro Cannon right before they can KO. So the bad news about this is this Shadow Machamp is going to have a decent amount of... Never mind. Shadow Machamp lives with 1 HP, banks a move, and just says, see ya. So I don't really... Chandelure is not a good Amok response, so I'm just going to come in with Drapion here and start throwing crunches and hoping maybe I get a debuff. No luck on the first crunch getting a debuff. I resist everything this Amok can throw at me, so there's no way I'm shielding. If he wants to go straight Dark Pulse, they can do not much damage with Dark Pulse. If they want to Acid Spray me, that's definitely not worth a shield. And this is going to be a very long, slow, tedious matchup, but it does look like Drapion is able to hold its own against Amok. Another crunch comes through, and at this point, if they throw their energy, I'm considering making an aggressive play into Chandelure, potentially, to start incinerating them. Or, okay, looks like I just stay in and throw one more crunch, because I realize I can live long enough to get there. So, the Amok goes down, and there's a Snorlax in the back, and that's not good, because my shields are going to be absolutely useless against Snorlax. So I'm just going to get licked all the way down here and probably die with 2 shields that I never used. The opponent actually makes a nice play, deferring the damage on the Machamp. That Snorlax has way more than 1 HP, so I can't KO through the shield. And I get farmed all the way down without ever using my second shield. If I'd known there was a Snorlax in the back, I definitely could have won that, because I could have easily gone to the Chandelure versus Amok matchup. That's not as awful as you might think it would be, because I resist the poison jabs. But anyway, I didn't know there was a Snorlax in the back. It's not even like they had a Toxicroak lead or something that would hint at a Pokemon that was weak to fighting in the back. So, GG. Hopping into my fourth battle, we're going up against Anorgaror-san. And Shadow Swampert with Electivire, but they safe swap Walrus, and as previously mentioned, I have no good Walrus counter, so this is kind of a problem for me. I'm going to lose the alignment I had against that Electivire. Farming up a bit here, and I'm kind of panicking at this point, not really sure what to do, because I want to save the Swampert for Electivire, but I also don't have a good response. I was trying to catch an Icicle Spear there, but I failed horribly at catching the Icicle Spear, and then I get Quaked, but it turns out from a non-Shadow Wall Rain, Drapion can tank a Quake. So I get this crunch off. This is going to deal some chip damage to the Walrus. Get to another crunch, and the opponent swaps to catch the crunch on Electivire, which I'm not sure why you would tank on Electivire. That thing's pretty glassy, but you do you, whatever works. Now, at this point, obviously, I'm definitely going to come in Swampert, and I'm throwing the Hydro Cannon before they get to a move. Let's see if the opponent wants to save this thing and go down 2 shields. They do not. And now there's a Trevenant on the field, and this is very sketchy, because I do not have a good matchup with Chandelure versus Trevenant. Now, the good news here is I'm going to be able to ramp up my attack with this Flame Charge, which means the opponent lets it go. I mean, I'm I was very confused by that play, because if they shield the Trevenant, they could just keep screwing me up with Ancient Powers. Or not Ancient Powers, Shadow Claws, what am I even talking about? But in any case, we are going to live that Icicle Spear with like 1 HP, get to this Flame Charge to take their last shield, and at this point I just basically have to Hydro Cannon them with Swampert, and that is going to be GG. So my recommendation for the opponent would be shield your Trevenant in that situation and just keep dealing Shadow Claw damage, possibly throw a Seed Bomb or something to take me out before I get to the second Flame Charge, and you'd be good. And for my final battle of this video, we are going up against Soft Roger. So Swampert into Gliscor, obviously a fantastic lead. The opponent swaps in their Surfetched, and Surfetched is kind of an awkward Pokemon for this team because it can Night Slash Chandelure, which would be pretty dangerous. But anyway, I realized they were offset by a turn from the switch, so I'm able to swap to Drapion, and we just casually catch that Leaf Blade. And now, if the opponent wants to go down 2 shields and Brave Bird me, honestly, they can go down 2 shields and Brave Bird me. I would be 100% fine with that. Surfetched lives the Sludge Bomb. I am going to call here because Drapion is not Chandelure, so why would I shield it? And it turns out it's just another Leaf Blade. They decide to throw another Leaf Blade. Now, I could potentially have maybe gotten switched there, but Counter deals so much more damage than Poison Sting, I didn't trust it, so I'm just going to settle for Shield and Energy Advantage. And the opponent brings their Gliscor into the Shadow Swampert. So definitely glad I didn't go for switch in that situation, but a little confused about what the opponent's thinking. I can tank this Night Slash comfortably, so no reason to shield it. Still just going to save 2 shields for the Chandelure. And they haven't seen Chandelure yet, so it's not even like they're saving a Chandelure counter in the back, hopefully. And it's a Toxicroak. Now, Toxicroak actually isn't awful against Chandelure because of the Mud Bombs, but with Chandelure having shield advantage here, I'm going to get to double Flame Charge a long time before they get to 3 Mud Bombs, which means this is all pretty much a lost cause for my opponent. There comes the first Mud Bomb. They will get to a second one here if they want to, and this is turning out to be quite a bit of a time investment here, but we're at the Flame Charge now, finally taking the Toxicroak down. And that is going to be a second 4-1 set with Chandelure. Now, I should note in the interest of honesty, these sets were not back-to-back, but I did go 17 and 8 on the day, so that should give you an idea of how generally strong this team is. What I would be concerned about if you decide to run this team is the fact that I was running this team the day Ultra League Premier Classic started up, and the meta hadn't really settled yet at that point, so I can't guarantee this team will work if you try it now. In any case, Chandelure is always a ton of fun to use, and I did have a blast with this team. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike if you disliked, drop a comment below to suggest a Pokemon for me to run, and subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future.